You know that feeling when you realize your marriage didn't die in some dramatic explosion, but rather in the third-floor window of a tech company office at 10:47 on a random Tuesday morning? Yeah, that was my October. I'm Blair, and apparently, I'd been cast as the oblivious wife in a cliched corporate affair without anyone bothering to send me the script. The discovery happened because my husband Barrett, 41 years old, director of operations, lover of craft beer, and apparently 24-year-old interns, forgot his lunch on the kitchen counter. Again. After 9 years of marriage, you'd think I'd have learned to let him starve. But no. I'm a giver. Or I was anyway. I'd just wrapped a client meeting in Bellevue, so I figured I'd swing by TechVance Solutions on my way home. Play the dutiful wife. Drop off his overpriced organic meal prep container with the little inspirational quote on the lid. You know, the kind that says things like, "Fuel your dreams," while containing sad chicken breast and steamed broccoli. The front parking lot was packed as usual, so I pulled around back. Their building has this lovely architectural feature where the executive offices on the third floor have floor-to-ceiling windows facing the side street. Great natural light. Even better view of marital destruction. I parked my Volvo SUV, the practical mom car I'd chosen because it had excellent safety ratings for our 6-year-old son Corbin, and happened to glance up. There was Barrett, my husband of 9 years, father of my child, the man who'd told me that morning he loved me and would grab takeout on the way home because he'd be working late. And there was Estelle, the product development intern who'd started 5 months ago. Fresh out of some fancy university, all 24 years of eager ambition, and apparently 0 sense of professional boundaries. They weren't reviewing quarterly reports. I sat there in my sensible SUV, holding his forgotten lunch, watching my marriage implode through a window like some twisted dinner theater I hadn't bought tickets for. The thing is, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't storm up there to make a scene. I took photos. Lots of them. Different angles. Excellent lighting, really. Barrett should thank the architect. Then I drove home to our 3-bedroom house in the gated community, the one I'd helped buy with my consulting income, and did what I do best: research. See, I've been running my own marketing consultancy for 4 years, working from home since Corbin was born. My specialty? Market research and competitive analysis, finding the angles nobody else sees, understanding what motivates people, what they value, what they fear. And Estelle Armstrong wasn't just any intern. 10 minutes on LinkedIn told me everything. Estelle Armstrong, only child, recent graduate from Stanford. Father, Conrad Armstrong, CEO and founder of Armstrong Capital, one of the most prominent venture capital firms in the Pacific Northwest. Armstrong Capital, the same firm currently in advanced negotiations to invest $15 million in TechVance Solutions. The deal Barrett had been working on for 8 months. The deal he came home and talked about constantly. The deal that was going to change everything for us. The deal that would secure his promotion to VP, his bonus, his entire future. The deal that his affair partner's father was about to write a check for. I actually laughed, like genuinely laughed. Because what are the odds? In a city of millions, in an industry swimming with eager young talent, my husband manages to sleep with the one intern whose father controlled his entire professional future. That's not bad luck. That's poetic justice waiting to happen. Corbin came home from first grade, and I helped him with homework like it was any other Tuesday. We made dinosaur-shaped chicken nuggets for dinner. His current obsession, everything had to be dinosaur-themed. Barrett texted around 7. "Running late? Don't wait up," with a little heart emoji. A heart emoji, while probably planning round 2 with Miss Stanford. After I put Corbin to bed, I poured myself a glass of wine. A nice Oregon Pinot, because if you're going to plot the destruction of your cheating husband's career, you should at least have good wine, and pulled up Conrad Armstrong's business profile. 58 years old. Self-made. Started Armstrong Capital 30 years ago with money from his first tech company exit. Known for being ruthlessly pragmatic. No scandals, no controversies. Devoted father, according to the puff pieces. His wife had passed away from cancer when Estelle was 15. So, a widower who'd raised his only daughter alone. A man who'd built an empire on calculated decisions and careful vetting. A man whose firm's reputation depended on backing companies with solid leadership and ethical cultures. A man who probably didn't know his baby girl was currently destroying a 9-year marriage and jeopardizing a $15 million deal. I drafted an email at 9:47 p.m. Subject: Urgent matter regarding your daughter Estelle and professional misconduct at Tech Vance Solutions. Documentation attached. Short, professional. The kind of subject line that gets opened. I hit send at 9:48 p.m. My phone rang at 10:12 p.m. This is Conrad Armstrong. You sent me an email. His voice was exactly what you'd expect. Measured, controlled. The tone of someone who'd heard every pitch and spotted every angle. Thank you for calling, Mr. Armstrong. I'm Blair Mitchell. I'm married to Barrett Mitchell, Director of Operations at Tech Vance Solutions. I'm familiar with the company. We're in active negotiations. I know. My husband talks about it constantly. That's actually why I reached out. I thought you should know who your firm is considering partnering with, and what kind of corporate culture your investment would be funding. Silence. Then, the photos you sent. Taken yesterday afternoon, through the window of his office. That's your daughter Estelle with my husband. She's 24. He's 41. She reports to the VP of Product, who reports to the COO, who's Barrett's peer. That's not just unprofessional. It's a lawsuit waiting to happen. For Tech Vance, and for anyone financially connected to them. More silence. Conrad Armstrong was processing, calculating, running scenarios. What do you want? He finally asked. Nothing from you, Mr. Armstrong. I wanted you to have complete information before your firm committed $15 million. What you do with that information is entirely your decision. I just thought a father should know, and an investor should have full transparency about the character of the leadership team asking for his money. I see. I'll let you go. I'm sure you have a lot to think about. Again, I'm sorry to be the one to tell you. Have a good evening. I hung up before he could respond. Barrett came home at midnight, smelling like her perfume, and kissed my forehead while I pretended to sleep. The next morning, Barrett was whistling in the shower. Whistling. Like a man who hadn't just torpedoed his entire life through a third-floor window. I made him coffee, because I'm committed to my role as the unsuspecting wife, and watched him scroll through his phone while eating the breakfast I'd prepared. Eggs, toast, orange juice. The condemned man's last meal, except he didn't know he was condemned yet. Big day today? I asked, all innocence and wifely interest. Huge. Armstrong Capital is supposed to send over their final terms this week. This deal is going to put Tech Vance on the map. And me, babe. VP track for sure. He grinned at me, that confident smile I'd fallen for a decade ago, back when I was young and stupid and thought tech bros with ambition were attractive. That's wonderful, honey. I'm so proud of you. He kissed me on the cheek and left for work, his $15 million dreams tucked safely in his overpriced messenger bag. I waited until his car pulled out of our gated community, then opened my laptop. See? Here's what 9 years of marriage teaches you. Men are predictable. Barrett was the kind of guy who used the same password for everything because he couldn't be bothered to remember multiple ones. Our anniversary plus his favorite number. September 2015-7. Incredibly secure. I'm sure the hackers are terrified. His iCloud was a goldmine. Messages between him and Estelle going back 4 months. It started professional enough. Project updates, meeting notes. Then it shifted. Compliments. Late-night texts. Photos I absolutely did not need to see. Plans to meet up. Discussions about me. She's so focused on Corbin, I don't think she even notices I exist anymore. Ah, yes. The classic midlife crisis defense. I'd had his child, raised our son, managed our household, and built my own business, so clearly I was the villain for not making him feel like the center of the universe 24/7. Estelle's response, "You deserve someone who sees you." How touching. A homewrecker with a heart of gold. But here's where it got interesting. Barrett had been using company resources for their little romance. Hotel rooms booked on the corporate card. Client dinners that were actually romantic restaurants. Company car for weekend getaways while I thought he was at conferences. I downloaded everything. Receipts, messages, photos. A complete digital record of Barrett's terrible decision-making skills. Then I called my lawyer. Not to file for divorce yet. That would tip him off. Just to discuss my options and understand my rights in a purely hypothetical situation where my husband was a cheating disaster. My attorney, Rita, had handled my business incorporation 4 years ago. She was sharp, ruthless, and had seen enough messy divorces to write a book. "How long?" she asked after I laid out the situation. "Found out yesterday. And you haven't confronted him." "I'm playing the long game." "Smart. Washington is a no-fault state, but documentation helps. Especially if he's been using marital assets or company resources. Keep gathering evidence. Don't let him know you know. And Blair, get your financial ducks in a row. Account statements, property records, everything." I spent Wednesday doing exactly that. While Corbin was at school and Barrett was at work, probably sneaking off with his intern between meetings, I photographed every document we owned. Bank statements, investment accounts, the mortgage, his stock options, his 401k. I made copies of everything and stored them at my best friend's house. Thursday morning, Barrett's phone rang during breakfast. He looked at the screen and his face went weird. Pale. Tight. "I have to take this." He walked into his home office and closed the door. I crept close enough to hear snippets. "Yes, sir. I understand. Friday?" "Yes, of course." "No, I'm not sure what this is about." When he came out, he looked like someone had punched him in the stomach. "Everything okay?" I asked, channeling my inner concerned wife. "Yeah, fine. Just, Conrad Armstrong wants to meet tomorrow, in person. Just him and me. That's good, right? Maybe he wants to finalize everything." "Maybe," but he didn't look like he believed it. Friday came. Barrett put on his best suit, the navy one I'd helped him pick out for important meetings. He tried 3 different ties before settling on one. His hands were shaking slightly when he knotted it. "Wish me luck," he said at the door. "You don't need luck. You've got this." He didn't got this. He came home at 2:30 in the afternoon, in the middle of a workday. That's never good. I was at my desk in the converted spare bedroom I used as my office, on a video call with a client. I heard the front door open, heard his footsteps on the stairs, heard the bedroom door close. I wrapped up my call and went upstairs. Barrett was sitting on the edge of our bed, still in his suit, staring at nothing. "Barrett? What happened?" "Armstrong pulled out." I let the silence stretch. Made him say it. "The deal's dead. $15 million, 8 months of work, and he just killed it." Said concerns arose regarding corporate governance and organizational culture. Wouldn't elaborate. Just said his firm couldn't move forward with companies that don't meet their ethical standards. That's crazy. What could he possibly mean? "I don't know." His voice cracked. I asked. He wouldn't tell me. Just said their due diligence uncovered issues that made the investment untenable. Did something happen at the company? Some kind of scandal? Not that I know of. Everything's been clean. We passed all their audits. This doesn't make sense. Oh, it made perfect sense. But I just rubbed his shoulder and made sympathetic noises while internally doing a victory dance. "I'm sure it'll be okay. Maybe another investor will come along." He laughed. It was not a happy sound. "Blair, do you know what happens when Armstrong Capital backs out of a deal? Every other VC firm in the region hears about it. They all assume he found something they missed. We're radioactive now. You don't know that. I know exactly that. That's how this industry works." The weekend was tense. Barrett barely ate. He kept checking his phone like it might deliver good news. It didn't. Monday morning, he got called into an emergency board meeting. He came home that evening looking worse than Friday. They're implementing austerity measures. No bonuses this year. Salary freeze across the board. 15% reduction in workforce. "Oh no, are you—" "I'm safe, for now. But Blair, they know. The board knows Armstrong pulled out because of something. And they're asking questions, looking for someone to blame. But it's not your fault. They don't see it that way. I was the primary relationship manager for that deal. It failed on my watch." Tuesday, Estelle didn't show up to work. Barrett mentioned it casually at dinner, trying to sound unconcerned. "That intern, Estelle? Apparently she's leaving the program early, going back to finish her degree." That's sudden. Yeah, weird. It wasn't weird. It was Daddy Dearest sending his daughter away from the scene of the crime before things got messier. Wednesday, the rumor mill at Tech Vance started churning. I knew because Barrett came home and poured himself a scotch at 6 p.m. People are talking. About what? About why Armstrong really pulled out. Someone started a rumor that there was inappropriate conduct during the negotiation period. That's ridiculous. He didn't answer, just drank his scotch and stared at the wall. Thursday, Barrett's boss, the CEO, Graham, called him into his office. This time when Barrett came home, he looked destroyed. Graham asked me point blank if anything inappropriate happened during the Armstrong negotiation, if I'd done anything that could have compromised the deal. What did you say? I said no. What else could I say? So many things, Barrett. So many truthful things. Did he believe you? I don't know. But Blair, people are watching me now, scrutinizing everything. I'm being blamed for losing $15 million, and I don't even know what I did wrong. The thing is, he knew exactly what he did wrong. He just didn't know that everyone else knew too. Friday afternoon, 2 weeks after I'd taken those photos, my phone rang. Unknown number. Blair? It's Conrad Armstrong. I wanted to thank you for your information and to tell you that my daughter has withdrawn from her internship. She'll be completing her degree remotely and will not be returning to any professional environment until she's demonstrated better judgment. I appreciate you letting me know. I also wanted you to know that I've instructed my firm to flag Tech Vance solutions in our systems. We won't be considering them for future investments. A company that allows that kind of behavior isn't one we want in our portfolio. That seems fair. Blair, I don't know what you're planning to do about your marriage, but if you need a reference for your consulting work, I'd be happy to provide one. Your approach to this situation showed remarkable strategic thinking. Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. I'll keep that in mind. I hung up and smiled. Barrett's career was imploding. His affair partner had been banished. His company was bleeding money and morale, and everyone suspected he was somehow responsible even if they couldn't prove exactly how. And me? I was just getting started. 3 weeks after I discovered Barrett's extracurricular activities, I was having coffee with my friend Paige when she dropped a bomb I hadn't seen coming. So, random question. Does Barrett have a life insurance policy through work? I blinked. Yeah. Why? Because my husband works in benefits consulting, and he mentioned Tech Vance recently updated their executive policies. Apparently, they're worth a lot more than people realize, especially for director level and above. Something clicked in my brain, the kind of click that sounds like a vault opening. I went home and pulled out our filing cabinet, found the policy documents Barrett had brought home 2 years ago and never looked at again. $500,000. Double indemnity for accidental death. And here's the interesting part. I was listed as the primary beneficiary, but there was a clause I'd never noticed before. In the event of divorce proceedings, the policy ownership could be contested. Could be, not would be. But Barrett didn't know that. I called Rita. Hypothetically, if I filed for divorce, what happens to a life insurance policy where I'm the beneficiary? Depends on the policy language and state law. Why? Just curious about our assets. Blair, are you planning something? I'm always planning something. That's why you like me. She laughed. Fair, but be careful. Don't do anything that could hurt your position later. Always. But the life insurance thing got me thinking about what else I didn't know. So I did what any self-respecting consultant would do. I conducted a complete audit of our financial life. Barrett's stock options were vesting in 3 months. $200,000 worth at current valuation. The house had $400,000 in equity. His 401k had grown to $350,000. My business was generating about $90,000 a year in revenue, and I had $70,000 in my separate business account. We looked good on paper. Comfortable upper-middle-class life in the Seattle suburbs. But here's what I found when I dug deeper. Barrett had been spending way more than I realized. Those client dinners added up. The hotel rooms, the weekend trips. Over the past 4 months, he'd burned through about $30,000 of our joint savings on his affair. $30,000. On hotels and fancy restaurants and probably jewelry I'd never seen. While I was home with our son, clipping coupons at Target and meal prepping to save money. I screenshotted everything, every receipt, every charge, every suspicious transaction. Then I made a spreadsheet, because I'm that person. Column 1, date. Column 2, expense. Column 3, actual purpose. Column 4, what he told me. Column 5, evidence. It was beautiful. A masterpiece of documented betrayal. The 4th week after discovery, Barrett came home looking worse than usual. His company was hemorrhaging. 3 senior developers had quit. 2 major clients had delayed projects. The stock price, for a company hoping to go public someday, was in free fall among employees who held options. Graham's looking for a scapegoat, Barrett said over dinner. Corbin was at the table, pushing dinosaur-shaped pasta around his plate, blissfully unaware his father was imploding. Can he really blame you? The deal fell through because of Armstrong's decision. That's not how they see it. They think I must have done something. Said something. They keep asking questions. What kind of questions? About my conduct during the negotiation. About any conflicts of interest. About whether I disclosed everything I should have disclosed. Oh, Barrett. If only you had disclosed things, like your affair, to your wife, before her father found out. What are you going to do? Survive. Keep my head down. Hope this blows over. Spoiler alert. It wasn't going to blow over. That weekend, while Barrett took Corbin to a birthday party at some indoor play place, because even imploding executives have to do dad duties, I went to my storage unit, the one I'd rented 2 years ago to store old client files and business equipment. The one Barrett didn't know existed because it was paid from my business account. I moved copies of everything there, documents, hard drives, thumb drives with screenshots, printed spreadsheets. I created a complete paper trail of Barrett's affair and financial misconduct, all safely stored where he could never find or destroy it. Then I did something I'd been avoiding. I looked at our joint credit card statements for the past year. All of them. The affair had been going on longer than 4 months. I found hotel charges going back 5 months. Restaurant receipts from places we'd never been together. Charges at jewelry stores in months that weren't my birthday or our anniversary or Christmas. 5 months. The text messages had only turned romantic 4 months ago, but the financial trail showed it had started physical almost immediately after she began her internship. While I was building my business, raising our son, managing our household, being the perfect supportive wife, I actually had to sit down. Not because I was heartbroken, I was past that, but because the sheer audacity was breathtaking. The man had maintained a 5-month affair, spent tens of thousands of our money, used company resources, seduced his investor's daughter, destroyed a $15 million deal, and somehow still came home every night and kissed me like nothing was wrong. That takes a special kind of arrogance. Monday morning, I had a consultation with a financial advisor. Not our usual guy, Barrett's college buddy who handled our retirement accounts. A new one, someone who specialized in divorce financial planning. Her name was Simone, and she was frighteningly competent. Let me get this straight, she said after I laid out the situation. He's been spending marital assets on an affair. His income is about to take a hit because his career is stalling. You have documentation of everything, and you want to know the best time to file. Exactly. Before his stock options vest. Once those vest, they're marital property and have to be divided. Right now, they're just a promise of future income. If you file before they vest, and his employment situation is unstable, you have leverage. He'll want to settle quickly to avoid a drawn-out process that could cost him even more. And the house? You've been making payments from your business income too, right? For 4 years, since I started consulting. Then you have a strong claim to more than 50% of the equity, especially given his financial misconduct. Washington is a no-fault state, but judges still consider economic waste. Spending $30,000 on an affair? That's waste. I smiled. Simone smiled back. We understood each other. When are you thinking of filing? Soon. But I want him to dig himself deeper first. Dangerous game. I'm good at games. That evening, Barrett's mother called. Helen, 68 years old, retired teacher, loved her son more than oxygen. She'd never particularly liked me. I wasn't ambitious enough, wasn't social enough, wasn't whatever enough. But she tolerated me because I gave her a grandson. Blair, dear, Barrett sounds stressed lately. Is everything all right? Work's been challenging, but he's handling it. He works so hard. I hope you're being supportive. There it was. The implication that if Barrett was struggling, it must somehow be my fault. I'm always supportive, Helen. Of course. It's just that men need to feel appreciated, especially during difficult times. I bit my tongue until I tasted blood. I'll keep that in mind. After we hung up, I added a note to my file. Barrett's mother will likely side with him. Factor into custody negotiations. Because yes, I was thinking about custody. Not that I thought Barrett would fight me for Corbin. He barely managed to show up for parent-teacher conferences. But I wanted to be prepared for everything. Wednesday afternoon, I got an email from Conrad Armstrong's assistant. Mr. Armstrong wanted to know if I'd be available for a consultation regarding marketing strategy for one of Armstrong Capital's portfolio companies. I responded within an hour. Professional, interested, included my rate sheet and availability. The meeting was scheduled for the following Tuesday. When Barrett came home that night, I was making dinner. Corbin was doing homework at the kitchen table. "How was your day?" I asked. The same question I'd asked for 9 years. Long. Graham's been in meetings with the board all week. I think they're considering major restructuring. What does that mean for you? I don't know. Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. He looked so defeated, so stressed, so completely unaware that his wife had spent the day building a financial fortress designed to destroy him. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Dinner's almost ready. Why don't you go play with Corbin for a bit? He's been asking about you. Barrett went to the table and ruffled our son's hair. Corbin looked up and grinned. Because 6-year-olds still think their dads are heroes. I watched them together and felt absolutely nothing. No warmth, no nostalgia. No regret about what I was about to do. Just cold, calculated determination. Barrett had spent 5 months lying to me, stealing from me, betraying me. Now it was my turn. And unlike him, I was actually good at it. Tuesday morning, I put on my best business casual outfit and drove to Armstrong Capital's offices in downtown Seattle. Sleek glass building, panoramic views of Elliott Bay, the kind of place where million-dollar decisions happen over espresso. Conrad Armstrong's office was exactly what you'd expect. Minimalist, expensive, with that effortless wealth aesthetic that screams, "I don't need to impress you. Blair, thank you for coming." He shook my hand, firm and professional. "Please, sit." We spent an hour discussing marketing strategy for one of his portfolio companies, a biotech startup that needed better positioning for their Series B raise. I gave him a preliminary audit, some competitive analysis, 3 strategic recommendations. He listened, actually listened, asked intelligent questions, took notes. At the end, he leaned back in his chair. "Your rate sheet says $200 per hour for consulting." "That's correct. I'll pay you $300, and I'd like to bring you on retainer for Armstrong Capital. We have 12 portfolio companies that could use your expertise." I kept my face neutral, but inside I was doing cartwheels. "That's very generous. It's business. You're good at what you do. I value competence." He paused. "How's your situation at home?" "Progressing. If you need anything, references, connections, whatever, let me know." "Actually, there is something. Do you know any good divorce attorneys? Family law specialists?" He smiled. Not a warm smile. A shark smile. "I know the best one in the state. Catherine Morrison. She handles complex asset division. I'll have my assistant send you her contact information." "Thank you." "Blair, men like your husband think they're untouchable, that their position protects them. It's satisfying to watch them learn otherwise." I left Armstrong Capital with a retainer contract worth $180,000 annually and the name of an attorney who apparently made her living destroying men in divorce court. Barrett's career was imploding. Mine was exploding. Poetic doesn't even begin to cover it. That evening, I told Barrett about my new client. Not who it was, just that I'd landed a major consulting contract. "That's great, babe. Really great." He tried to sound enthusiastic, but mostly he sounded exhausted. "We could use the income." Things are tight. Things were tight because he'd spent $30,000 on his mistress. But I didn't mention that. Thursday, I met with Catherine Morrison. Her office made Conrad's look modest. She was 53, had silver hair she wore in a sharp bob, and the kind of confidence that comes from winning consistently. I laid out everything. The affair, the financial evidence, the documentation, the timeline. She listened without interrupting, occasionally making notes on her tablet. When I finished, she looked up. This is unusually well documented. Most people come to me with suspicions and emotional reactions. You've built a legal case. I believe in being thorough. How much do you want? Everything I'm entitled to. The house, fair division of assets, primary custody of our son, and enough support to maintain Corbin's lifestyle. His stock options vest in 10 weeks now, correct? 10 weeks. We file in 6 weeks, before vesting. While his career is still uncertain, he'll be motivated to settle quickly. She smiled. I like you, Blair. You think strategically. I had a good teacher. Betrayal is very educational. The next week, Barrett got his performance review. He came home pale and shaking. They're putting me on a performance improvement plan. For those who don't speak corporate, a PIP is usually a precursor to firing someone. It's a paper trail. Documentation that the company tried to help before they pulled the trigger. What does that mean? It means I have 90 days to meet certain metrics or they can terminate me. Blair, if I lose this job, no other tech company in Seattle will touch me. Armstrong Capital's rejection poisoned the well. Can you meet the metrics? I don't know. Maybe. They're aggressive targets. He put his head in his hands. How did everything fall apart so fast? Oh, Barrett, let me count the ways. I rubbed his back, made sympathetic sounds, and mentally calculated how a potential job loss would affect the divorce settlement. Catherine had already briefed me. If he was unemployed at filing, he couldn't claim he needed assets to maintain his lifestyle. It actually worked in my favor. Sometimes karma doesn't just knock. She kicks the door down and redecorates. Week 6 after discovery, I filed for divorce. I did it on a Thursday morning after Barrett left for work. Rita and Catherine had coordinated everything. The papers were delivered to him at his office at 2 p.m. by a professional process server. He called me at 2:17 p.m. Blair? What? I just got served with divorce papers. I know. You know? What do you mean you know? I filed them, Barrett. Silence. Then, why? What happened? Can we talk about this? There's nothing to talk about. I've made my decision. But, Blair, this is crazy. We can work through whatever's bothering you. Marriage counseling. Whatever you need. The audacity. The sheer, breathtaking audacity of a man who'd been cheating for 10 months suggesting marriage counseling. I don't need counseling, Barrett. I need a divorce. Is this about my job? The stress? I know I've been distant, but read the papers. My attorney will be in touch. I hung up. He called back 4 times. I didn't answer. Finally, he came home at 4 p.m. I was waiting in the living room with all his belongings already packed. Blair, please, just talk to me. There's nothing to say. What did I do? Tell me what I did wrong. I pulled out my phone, opened the photo album I'd created, handed it to him. He scrolled through. I watched his face go from confused to pale to gray to green. Photos of him and Estelle. Screenshots of messages. Receipts from hotels and restaurants. Bank statements with charges highlighted. Where did you? How long have you? Known? 5 weeks? Cared? About 10 months less than that? Blair, I can explain. Don't bother. I don't want explanations. I want you out of my house. Your house? This is our house. Actually, according to Washington state law and the documentation my attorney has, it's mostly my house, given that I've been paying a significant portion of the mortgage while you spent our savings on your girlfriend. He sat down hard on the couch. Estelle. Conrad found out. That's why he pulled the deal. Did you really think you could sleep with an investor's daughter and there'd be no consequences? Did you tell him? I provided information. What he did with it was his choice. Barrett looked at me like he'd never seen me before. You destroyed my career. No, Barrett. You destroyed your career. I just documented it. Everything at work, the deal falling apart, the PIP, all of it. You orchestrated this? I didn't orchestrate anything. I simply ensured the right people had the right information. You did this to yourself. Blair, please, I made a mistake. It's over with Estelle. Her father sent her away. I'll do anything. Counseling, whatever you want. Don't throw away 9 years. You already threw it away. I'm just taking out the trash. His phone rang. He looked at it. It's my mother. Better answer. She's going to need to find a new favorite son-in-law to praise. He answered. I heard Helen's voice shrill even through the phone. Barrett mostly said yes and I know and I don't know what happened. When he hung up, he looked broken. My mother thinks I should fight the divorce. Contest everything. She's welcome to pay for the attorney that would require. Because Barrett? I have Conrad Armstrong's personal recommendation, a lawyer who specializes in destroying men who commit financial infidelity, and documentation of every dollar you spent on your affair. Contest it. Please. It'll be entertaining. Reality hit him then. I could see it in his eyes. The understanding that he'd lost. Completely. Irreversibly. What about Corbin? Corbin will be fine. Better than fine. He'll have one parent who's honest and one parent who'll hopefully learn from this experience. Can I at least say goodbye to him? He's at school. You can have supervised visitation per the custody arrangement. Catherine will send over the schedule. Supervised? Blair, I'm his father. You're also a man who made spectacularly poor decisions. Until we establish a formal custody agreement, supervision is standard. He stood up slowly, picked up the suitcases I'd packed. I never meant to hurt you. Barrett, you spent 10 months actively hurting me. You just didn't mean to get caught. He left, drove away in the car that would need to be returned since it was in both our names and I wasn't paying for it anymore. I closed the door, walked to the kitchen, and poured myself a glass of wine. The good stuff. The Oregon Pinot I'd been saving. My phone buzzed. Text from Catherine. Process server confirmed delivery. He took it well? Me. Define well. He's currently homeless, jobless, and realizing his mother can't fix this. Catherine. Perfect. Discovery starts Monday. I smiled and took a sip of wine. Barrett had destroyed our marriage. His career was in shambles. His relationship with Estelle had ended in disgrace. His reputation in the tech industry was permanently damaged. And I had a thriving consulting business with Conrad Armstrong's portfolio. The man had literally handed me his professional network while destroying his own. 6 months later, I'm sitting in my home office, the one that used to be our spare bedroom, reviewing contracts for my third Armstrong Capital portfolio company. Corbin's at school. The house is quiet. Mine. The divorce finalized 8 weeks ago. Barrett signed everything Catherine put in front of him because his attorney took one look at my documentation and advised immediate settlement. Fighting would have cost him more than surrendering. I got the house. 70% of the equity, actually, once Catherine calculated my contributions plus his financial waste. Barrett got his 401k and whatever was left of his dignity, which wasn't much. The stock options vested 2 weeks before the divorce finalized, and I got 40% of those too. Turns out spending marital assets on an affair is frowned upon in asset division. Barrett's still at TechVance, technically. He survived his performance improvement plan by the skin of his teeth, but he's not director of operations anymore. They demoted him to senior project manager. Same company, smaller office, 20% pay cut, 0 chance of advancement. Everyone knows why Armstrong Capital pulled their investment. The tech community in Seattle is small. Reputations travel fast. He lives in a 1-bedroom apartment in Renton now. Sees Corbin every other weekend and Wednesday evenings. He's trying to be a good father. I'll give him that. Though it's easier to show up for parenting when you only have to do it 8 days a month. Estelle, according to Conrad, finished her degree remotely and moved to Austin. Her father made it clear she wasn't welcome in Seattle's professional scene until she'd proven she could make better choices. Last I heard, she was working for some startup in Texas, far away from married executives and their messy lives. Helen, Barrett's mother, tried to blame me for everything. Called me vindictive. Said I'd destroyed her son's life over one mistake. I sent her copies of the bank statements showing 5 months of expenses and asked her to count again. She hasn't called since. My consulting business is thriving. The Armstrong Capital retainer alone covers my mortgage and then some. But Conrad's recommendation opened other doors too. I've got clients in biotech, software, fintech. Turns out, when a legendary VC vouches for you, people listen. Last month, Conrad invited me to speak on a panel about strategic marketing at a tech conference. Barrett was in the audience. I saw him in the back row, watching me discuss growth strategies with 3 other consultants while Conrad moderated. The look on his face was something I'll treasure forever. Not quite regret, more like the slow realization that he'd traded down spectacularly. After the panel, Conrad and I went for coffee. "You've come a long way in 6 months," he said. "I was always capable of this. I just had someone holding me back. Barrett? And myself, for tolerating it. For thinking marriage meant making myself smaller so he could feel bigger." Conrad nodded. "My wife used to say that some people don't appreciate what they have until they're watching someone else appreciate it. Barrett's learning that lesson the hard way. How's Estelle? Working hard, growing up. She asks about you sometimes." "What does she ask?" "If you ever think about forgiving her father for pulling the investment." He smiled. "I tell her you already have. By turning it into your best business opportunity." I laughed. Because it was true. Barrett's affair didn't just end my marriage. It launched my career. Corbin's adjusting well, better than I expected. He's 7 now, thriving in 2nd grade, still obsessed with dinosaurs. He asks questions sometimes about why Daddy lives in a different house, but he's young enough that this just becomes his normal. Kids are resilient that way. I'm dating again. Nothing serious yet, just casual coffee dates and dinners with men who don't have secret families or inappropriate relationships with coworkers. The bar is low, but at least I know where it is now. Sometimes I drive past TechVance's building. I never stop, but I look up at that 3rd-floor window where I took the photos that changed everything, and I think about parallel universes. The one where I didn't look up, where I delivered Barrett's lunch and stayed oblivious, where I kept playing the supportive wife while he played around, that Blair would still be married, still be compromising, still be smaller. This Blair has a thriving business, full custody of her son, and a house she owns outright. This Blair speaks at conferences and turns down clients because she's too booked. This Blair doesn't need a husband to feel complete. I prefer this version. People ask if I regret how I handled it, if I think I was too ruthless, too calculated, if maybe I should have confronted Barrett directly, given him a chance to explain. And I tell them the truth. Barrett had 5 months to explain, 5 months to confess, 5 months to choose his family over his ego. He chose wrong every single day. I just made sure the consequences matched the crime. There's a quote I saw recently that resonates. "Don't set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm." For 9 years, I was smoldering. The affair didn't break me. It freed me. Barrett destroyed our marriage, torpedoed his career, and humiliated himself in front of the entire Seattle tech community. And all I did was make sure the right people knew the truth. Sometimes the best revenge isn't some elaborate scheme. It's just refusing to protect someone from their own choices. I didn't ruin Barrett's life. I just stopped preventing him from ruining it himself. And honestly, that's even better.